Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I am talking to another fellow Aussie today on the show, all the way, well, I won't say all the way from Brisbane, just a couple of hours via plane to
Nice and
Bris
close, yeah.
Vegas. I'm going to say Bris Vegas. Welcome to the show, Nathan Denchman. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, B. How are you?
Yeah, good. I love that I do love having a good old chat in the same area. I've had a few pods this morning and talked all around the world, and I've come back to my homeland,
Yeah.
homeland. So thank you for coming on the show. We've got a bit of a story to share, don't we? And I'm looking forward to hearing all the ins and outs of it. So let's get into it. And I'm going to start with, I'm actually going to flip it around a bit, even more versus what we talked around pre-show. I'm going to start with that you had co-founded a business called Hira IQ pre-COVID.
hmm Yeah.
And then obviously COVID kicked in and you were just hitting your strides from what you said. And then you had to take a full pivot. And you have since co-founded and you are the head of engineering at ProcurePro, which is based in construction tech, and it's a procurement platform used by contractors to streamline let packages. I didn't even ask you what that means, but I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to let you share that with us. Contracts and compliance. And the founding team of ProcurePro, including yourself, Nathan, was named among Australia's top 100 young entrepreneurs in 2025. So just a week ago. Let's just say
Yeah.
that because we're only in early days of 2026, right? Sounds like you've had quite the ride over the last however many, what, 5, 6 years. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah. It's been a pretty fun ride actually. Like we started back in 2018 actually with Hire IQ, and Hire IQ is a lease negotiation platform for commercial landlords. So a Boost Juice moves into a shopping center, they need to negotiate their lease. So we built like a AI powered negotiation platform back in 2018 when before AI was really a thing, or before it was as big as it is today.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of there was a lot of challenges with that business, namely like we had to sell to both the commercial landlord and their law firm at the same time. So like a dual enterprise selling cycle was quite long and slow. And we were just starting to kind of hit our strides in that. Like we signed up the first couple of customers and we had a few more ready to go just as COVID kicked in. And then all the shopping centers kind of closed their doors for an indeterminate amount of time. So yeah, we're kind of early COVID days looking around to be like, what else can we do? And a lot of the customers we were talking to in the commercial real estate space have construction arms. So for example, Lendlease, they like build their own shopping
Yeah.
centers and stuff. So they had been telling us that their construction arm has similar sort of contract issues. So we started investigating that and very quickly realized that they don't have a contract problem, they have a procurement problem. So a let package is essentially a construction company getting a trade, figuring out the right trade that they want to use. So they need concrete or electrical or plumbing or something when they're building a high-rise apartment or a hotel or something like that. And then yeah, so when a construction company lets a package, they're finding the right subcontractors to a job. So they tend to go out to a tender, they get a bunch of quotes back, they compare that, they do like an internal approval process. And there's a bunch of admin work. It's really heavy administrative flow in that space in order to get a contract signed with the subcontractor and then to get them on site after that. And what we found was the construction tech space has been like it's had a lot of work in the previous years, but mainly focusing in like on-site stuff. So you get drones flying around your construction site and that sort of thing, and managing your contractors on site. But there's been really nothing targeting like the back office work, the contract administrators being our core users, like that are sitting at their computer trying to organize everything behind the scenes, and they generally just use like a buttload of Excel documents and emails and Word documents, and it's just like this really complicated process that takes hours and hours for every trade, and they tend to have 40 to 60 odd trades for every project. So It's a very time consuming process. And sort of like when we came across that, we realized like there's so many efficiencies that we can give there, and we can just kind of give these companies hours back in their day. So we kind of developed our mission then that we can save 1 billion hours of construction admin time, which then allows these
Wow.
companies to focus that time on things that are more valuable if we can
Mm.
get rid of all the sort of grunt work. So yeah, that's sort of where we pivoted during COVID, and we launched the ProcurePro product mid 2021 with a few foundation customers at that point, and then it's sort of been growing really fast ever since then. It feels really nice to have product market fit as opposed to before when you like going through this like long sales grind selling to commercial landlords, selling them a product that they're like, oh yeah, this is good, but no one's really ready to sign on the dotted line, which
Yeah.
in hindsight means you don't have product market fit. But
Yeah.
now
Isn't
we
it
have
funny
customers
how
trying to get it all the time.
yeah. Isn't it funny how things just work the way they work? Like we try and control so much and yet we have such little control. Like you didn't have any control. You couldn't have predicted that COVID was going to happen when it happened. And you probably had all these grandiose ambitions and plans for higher IQ, sorry. Procure
That's
Pro is so much easier to remember, by the way. So, as a
that
brand name, by the way, like this, just it's easy. It just flows off your tongue. Whereas I like higher IQ, but like it's yeah, for me it was.
that's intentional. Naming a business is hard. We spent weeks coming up with higher IQ, and then literally immediately people are mispronouncing it. People type it wrong and misspell it all the time. And then when we started Procure Pro, we were like, nah, we just have to say the thing that we do. We do procurement. Put pro on the end, and we called it a day. And like it's a way easier brand to remember.
Well, isn't it? Like, and it
Yeah.
says what it is. Like, do you know what I mean? That's exactly what it is, and it's super clear. But yeah, like, what a story. Because like, what when COVID happened, and like, then all of a sudden your strategy, your plan, your ambition for that business, it kind of just it literally just falls apart. And you said you were then like, okay, well, what do we do next? Was there any moment there where you were just like, just gonna have to like this is it. Like, let's go get a job. Like, I can't do this. Yeah, what kept you curious? What kept you open-minded? What gave you the courage to keep pursuing something in such an intense time, full stop? Like, I mean, Melbourne was in the world's longest lockdown, let's face it. But like, yeah, I was talking to you pre-show around scaling up and scaling down. And I was saying to you, for me, it was harder to scale down because we had to scale down in COVID and it was horrific, much easier to scale up. But you said you weren't even scaling up at that point when
No.
you were only just getting like hitting your stride, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, at the time we had a founding team of four, and we had a single employee, a junior engineer at the time. And then I guess like it was pretty hard because we'd spent 3 years sort of grinding on this for a while, and we'd been talking internally of like when do we like what is our limit? Like how long do we grind away at this without like seeing any benefit? But then COVID came, and it was definitely a blessing in disguise for us because at that same time, our CEO's best mate was forced to come home from his overseas holiday, and he had worked in Hutchinson Builders, like one of Australia's biggest building companies, for a decade. So he had a decade worth of experience, and we were trying to learn about the construction industry at the time. So we just asked him, like, can you give us a couple of weeks of your time? Because you don't have a job at the moment. It's COVID. Just jump on a call with us and talk for a couple of weeks. And then he ended up becoming our fifth co-founder
Wow.
because I guess like his energy was like what kept us going because he could see that we had a great group of founders, that we have the operational expertise to execute and execute well. And he had the knowledge, and he could very clearly articulate the problems in the industry and what we can do to solve it. And then we're able to execute on that. So it got us all like really G'd up and excited to solve this like ginormous problem that we know we can.
Yeah, because how many co-founders are there in the company?
There's five. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that because you've got this mission to save 1 billion hours, I think you said. Was it 1 billion
Yeah.
hours?
A billion. Yeah.
How did you get to 1 billion like hours? Like, was like you're an engineer, like did you like, and I'm not taking the piss, by the way, but just like you, no doubt would have looked into it all and like from a project perspective and like, well, like if they're doing using all these different Excel spreadsheets, all these different systems, it's clunky, it's taking all these hours. Did you actually calculate 1 billion hours, or were you like
Like we did do calculations. Yeah, 1 billion is like an intentionally really large number so that it will take us like a decade
forever?
of work to
Yeah,
hit
it's a
it,
North
sort of
Star,
thing,
right? Or a
right?
yeah. Mm.
Exactly. But yeah, because we were trying to find like what is our North Star? What can we aim towards? How do we know that we're being successful? And what we learned from talking to like early customers was generally to procure a single trade. So they have to like draft up a scope of works. Like, what does this electrician have to do when they come on site? You get this big list of things, and then you go out to tender and you get them all to like quote. You get, 3 to 5 quotes based on like, someone might say that's 100 grand worth of work. Someone says it's 150. Someone says it's 75, and all their quotes come back in different formats. So then you've got to like kind of spend hours breaking it all down and comparing them to figure out who's actually the best contractor for the job. You probably go back and forth with each of them a bunch of times. You eventually find someone, then you're just a contract admin. You've got to then you got to like escalate that up for approval to like your project manager, your commercial manager, whoever, depending on the size of the package that you're letting, depending on if you're making a loss, if it or if you're making a gain on that package. You got to get approval by different people. Then you've got to draft up a contract and send it out and get it signed and all that sort of stuff. But we've found that that takes about 40 hours on average for a single trade. And then pretty much every commercial construction project, so like schools, hospitals,
That's heaps of trade.
hotels, they have like 40 to 60 or 70 odd trades on average. So that's a lot of time that they spend. And we're like, we can save a big chunk of that. And then after we developed part of the platform, we went back and talked to those same customers again, and we found that like each action that they take in our system, so if they do a tender through our system, if they generate their scope through our system, if they generate their contract through our system, they tend to save about 4 hours per trade per thing that they do. And so we call that a procurement task. So a procurement task that you complete through ProcurePro is about 4 hours faster than doing it the old way, essentially.
Mm.
Um, so then you can sort of add that up. And I think we're at over 200,000 hours that we've saved now across our customer base. So like 1 billion is a long way off, but if we can add more, like if we can take over more manual
Yeah,
procurement tasks that they're
yeah,
doing, if we can like increase the time saved, like if each of those procurement tasks we can improve, so that it takes up, 5, 6, 7 hours of their time and we can save that extra time, then that number is going to grow a lot faster. And
yeah,
that's sort of our
yeah. And
our
then
goal
it's
over the coming years.
yeah, then it's what's your next vision? Do you know what I mean? Like, but you know what comes up for me also? Like, I've dealt with procurement before, and like, in my old advertising communication, but even in this world I'm in now, and this it's so slow. Like, we'll go through the like, I've had like it reminds me of one recently, and I'm just like, oh, like shoot me now. Like it was so clunky and so slow, and like so what comes up for me also is, and I'd be interested to know if this is resulting in that also, not just saving time, but building better relationships between the contractors and the whoever the construction, do you know what I mean? Like, or the hospitals or whatever
100%.
you're calling out, they must be building better relationships because it's not this argy-bargy back and forth. You said it'd be 2 weeks, it's a month, or it's like, do you know what I mean? Like it just all this complexity, it's kind of almost taking out a lot of that complexity to get back to what we're meant to be focusing on, which is getting the result required and everyone's like happy all round. Is that like, are you noticing that as well?
100%. That's a big problem that a lot of our customers tell us is like the relationships that they have
Yeah,
with the contractors they work with is very important because it's such a relationship-based industry. If
totally.
you if you ask if you ask a subcontractor, like an electrical contractor, to quote on something and you've given them a bunch of work previously, they'll send you back their quote a lot faster than if it's like someone you've never worked with before.
Yeah,
So like it's very important to maintain that relationship and to make sure that, contractors that provide you with quotes and provide you like do work for you, essentially you give them work back and
yeah,
you keep that maintained quite well. And that's something that is really hard to do with manual systems and
Yeah,
through multiple teams as well. Like people just forget to like close the loop with their contractor. And that's something that we haven't really solved yet, but it's certainly on our roadmap to like help manage that relationship a lot better
yeah.
because we know it saves time. It makes things faster if you've got a good relationship.
Yeah, yeah, I could not agree more. Like it's super important. I've always had good relationships with procurement over the years because it's important, right? Like, but yeah, having that right system
Definitely.
as well. Speaking of systems, when you booked in for the pod, I asked you what's one unique insight or lived experience that you'd like to share when it comes to life leadership and or business, and you said everyone talks about AI making everything faster, but it only accelerates whatever you're already doing. If your processes and documentation are solid, AI amplifies them. If they're not, you just do the wrong things faster and cheaper. What looks like an AI transformation is really just companies finally doing the basic operational hygiene they should have done for humans all along. Tell us a little bit about that and how all that, I guess, correlates with Procurement Pro as well.
Yeah, I guess like when I started thinking about this was when like coding agents, because I'm a software engineer, so I spent a lot of my time coding, or I used to at least before my team grew so large. But what I noticed is we have like a really strong test suite, which was something that we put a lot of effort into back in the day because we knew that it made engineers faster and better without AI. And then once we started introducing AI coding agents, I noticed that it made them better as well because they have tests. They can double check their work. Like there's this, the whole thing with AI is that it like, well, one of the things with particularly LLMs is that they hallucinate things, they make stuff up. And that
Yeah.
happens when they're writing code for you as well. But if they can run your automatic tests, then they can fix themselves and the hallucination problem just disappears immediately. Um, and it's the same with like having good documentation. The AI agent can read your documentation and understand what it should be doing. And I think what I noticed particularly with coding is like a lot of companies can get away with not having good documentation and good tests and good practices before when you hire humans because humans have the ability to look at something and like think critically about it and be like, no, that's not the right way to do it. And they'll go and ask someone when they're stuck. But an AI agent won't do that. It'll just make stuff up. It'll be, I don't really know what to do here. So I'm just going to do this instead. And it won't double check its work. It won't ask you for help. So like, but if you were following all those good practices before, AI just goes way, way better for you. And then I noticed that across other areas of the business as well. Like you're trying to get it to automate any process. Like if you don't have documentation for that process, it does a really bad job.
Mm,
So then like, and it's the same as like if you bring in a junior employee or any new employee into any role and you just say like, off you go, do your job, but you don't tell them anything, you don't give them any
totally.
documentation, any process to follow, like
Yeah.
they're stuck and they do poorly.
Yeah.
But if you give them all the tools that they need, then they do a really good job. And it's the
Yeah.
exact same with AI.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And there's such a buzz. Like, I mean, last year was just, it was so buzzy. And like you say, and I'm loving, it's actually the conversation's changed a little bit, even like the last few days that I've been speaking with people around, but it was happening probably towards the end of last year, is like 2026, we're going to see a real noticeable change in terms of like, things will just kind of settle down a little bit more with AI this year. It won't be like, oh, I can do sure, it's really important what it can do and how it can amplify, but you've got to still have the human involved. And you called out something really important to me, which is critical thinking. And critical thinking is, like it's at the top of like the roles that are required more and more from humans. And so like that therein lies an opportunity, right? Like especially in what you're doing as well, like to be able to your clients and customers to be able to get back to doing the critical thinking they're meant to be doing, the negotiating, the relationship, kind of all of that sort of stuff, which is so required and so important versus expecting AI to do it all.
100%. Like we see that as well with like some of our AI features that we've been releasing, and we've got our second product, which is kind of on the cusp of being launched as well, which is a AI native product to help you compare your quotes from contractors. But we notice it that people try like an AI tool, whether it's ours or whether it's ChatGPT or whatever it is, and the first thing you do is you give it the hardest task imaginable that like, oh, I don't really want to do this. It's a hard work. And then the AI does a really bad job at it generally. But then people kind of break into two different groups then. There's group one, which is like, nah, AI sucks. It's never going to take my job. And they just forget about it and they like continue doing things the way before. But then there's another group of people who think, oh, I wonder if it'll do an easy job for me. Like I have five hard jobs to do and I have 30 easy jobs. And then they throw an easy job at the AI and it does a really good job. Or like it does 80% of the work for you. So then that's where the benefit comes in. If you make the AI do those 30 easy jobs, it might get you 80% of the way there and you can polish it off later. But then you have way more time to focus on the five hard jobs. And that's where you can do a much better job if you're not having to worry about all the all the other grunt work that
So
you don't have to
true.
do anymore.
So true. Tell me, I want to shift it. I want to shape it into something else, this conversation now, in terms of five co-founders. Am
Hmm.
I allowed to say your age? You're 32. So,
Yeah.
top young entrepreneurs. Are you all young? Like, yeah, that's my first question. Are you all young, or have you got a mix of like multi-generations in the co-founder mix?
No, we're all within a few years of each other. We're all in the 30 to 40 bracket now, but we were all in the 20 to 30 bracket when we started.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all very similar, which has been one of the challenges for us over the last couple of years is like building diversity into into the company
Yeah.
because the founder level we're all 30-year-old straight white men. Like, come on,
Yeah.
we can't have a company like this. So like
No.
we've put a lot of effort into building that diversity into the company, which has been really good and fun. Um, but yeah, I guess the a lot of people question the five co-founders. So isn't that too many cooks in the
No,
kitchen?
so
Like, don't you step on each other's
I'm
toes?
not questioning it. I'm more intrigued by it. Like this is nothing on this in this conversation is ever like loaded in that regard. It's more just how does it work? Like I mean, like because you're successful for a reason. You guys have kind of what you're doing. Like yeah, but there's almost for me, how do you ensure that you don't step in on each other's toes? You get into that team, like leadership team flow state where you are all in sync with one another. I'm more interested in that aspect of how it works because, co-founders always have their fights and, like all that something, there's always like, I mean, I worked with three and it was always like two against one or one against the other. Like there was always stuff going on. Like it was just in but they quickly got over it and they quickly moved forward, and there was always a great result that came of it. That's just standard. That's if you can get over it pretty quickly and move forward.
Mm.
I'm not sugarcoating it, but yeah, how do you guys do it? Without giving away your secret sauce? And I love that you also worked on the diversity as well piece. But yeah, what makes you guys tick? What creates the magic? What keeps that magic going?
Um, I'd actually like the first few years, like it all just kind of went really quite smoothly. I never really considered why, but then I attended a conference where there was a talk on like healthy versus unhealthy conflict, and I'd always considered that we never had conflict because we never really had arguments, but we just had discussions, and like maybe there's disagreements, but like you said, you
Passive aggressive.
come. It's not passive aggressive,
No.
really. It's more just like
Yeah.
I'd never really broken it down, but the conference talked about like a healthy conflict is when you have a disagreement, but everybody's aligned on the outcome. Everybody like believes the other person's intentions are pure,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of trust between each other as well. And that's what ticked for me. I'm like, oh, the five of us, we have all those three properties, and we all know what we know and we know what we don't know. So if there's if there's a engineering question that comes up and people are like, I don't know if we should be doing this, they'll defer to myself and Tom as technical founders. Like we are the engineering leads of the company. So like if like and we do our best to like communicate like technical challenges and things like that. But at the end of the day, the decision lies with us and the other founders respect that. And that goes the same for pretty much every other decision in the business. And we all sort of know enough about everybody's departments to have a discussion and to pull the thread on it. But we all know that like, he's the leader of product, he's the leader of design, he's the
Mm.
CEO, like the decision ultimately rests with them and we respect that and we know that that person has got our best interests at heart and the best interests of the company at heart and those intentions just all kind of line up, and it makes everything work quite smoothly, I think.
Yeah, and sorry, I was joking about the passive aggressive because when you were just talking about we never really seem to argue, but like it just like that can come up. But I love the whole notion of healthy conflict because it's important, right? Like if you're not, otherwise it just comes out past the salt relationship where you're just like at the table, for example, you're like, can you please pass the salt or can you pass the pepper? But you're not actually
Oh,
having the conversations that need to be
mm.
had. So there's nothing wrong with healthy conflict, just like healthy stress, isn't it? Like there's bad stress and there's healthy stress. There's bad conflict and there's good conflict. So yeah, no judgment from me around the five co-founders. I think it's great that you have that ability to have the diversity of skill, but also then the ability to have the healthy conflict. And it's working from a from like look where your business is as well. And I think also like putting the I think sorry, I should say a part of it is around also just the familiarity of each other and, like being your authentic self. Would you agree? Like that you need to be like, you guys are all like, the ability to be your authentic self, like who you are outside of work is who you are inside of work. Is that kind of how you guys, I mean, you're younger than me,
Yeah.
so, like you're a younger generation. I'm 48. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've always hated the notion of like having a different version of yourself, like that you like, present to like your close friends versus everywhere else, or like you're a different person at work because you're, I don't know, trying to fit into the bureaucracy of the workplace, something like that. I've just always just been me, and so have the other founders as well. And like we don't have to kind of like pretend that we're someone else, particularly when we're with each other, but also across the business. Like we just have this very kind of, like you said, authentic or transparency within the business that I think all of our employees really value as well.
How many employees do you have?
Uh, I think we're about to tick over 100,
It is.
um,
Yeah, that's impressive.
spread across Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Philippines, even one in Canada as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Exciting.
so like we're a global company now. There's many time zones to contend with. It's a little bit of fun, but
Do you ever just like
um,
sit back and go, wow, like do you like how do you I guess this is a question. How do you like because sometimes we don't smell those roses, right? And I know I did that for a long time where it was just like and I still have to remind myself to not be so hard on myself or go, yeah, I actually did like, just because the outcome's not there yet, like it doesn't mean I haven't done like made a lot of inroads, for example. How do you guys, one, ensure as co-founders that you actually take stock of that was a win or great work sort of thing? Like, I guess what I'm talking about is the small wins here, like just like the continuous wins. And then how do you do it with the team? Or is that something that you find challenging because you are, scaling? I think it's important to be able to stop and pause and celebrate these things. And I never did it back in the day. And not enough, I should.
definitely it's definitely challenging. Like we're for starters a fully remote company, spread across
Yeah. Mm.
various cities and stuff. But secondly, like you said, the fact that we're growing, it means like whatever we do to celebrate has to change as we grow. Like back when there was only, less than 20 of us, we used to jump on a Zoom call every single day at lunchtime and just talk about random things. And like at that point, we'd celebrate a win that we had, or we would just, be social. But now you try and do that and try and get, not even 100 people because some people are in the UK or whatever, but we'd get our Australian team, which is over 60 now, get all of those people onto a call and like try and have a social catch up. Like it just doesn't really work very well. Um, so there's a lot of like continuous iteration on the processes that we have for this. But the biggest one that we have is our end of year party, offsite Christmas party that we actually just did in the start of December last year. So we flew everybody to Sydney. We did like an in-person hackathon in the AWS offices there, and then we jumped on a bus out an hour and a half out of Sydney to Terrigal, like
Yeah,
a
I
little
love
beach
Terrigal.
town out there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And we just rented out like a motel and a bunch of Airbnbs in like one massive house where like everyone could sort of congregate, and there's a pool and a rooftop and all sorts of stuff. And we just like, took, I think it was 3 days. We took
Oh,
3 days of just like,
yeah.
you know, relaxing, refreshing, like reflecting on the year that's been and like looking forward about like, what are we gonna look, what are we looking to achieve next year? And we did some like little awards for the team and things like that. And it was awesome just to sort of take, like you said, take that time to pause and reflect and just be happy with like what we've achieved this year, or
Yeah.
last year now. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, what a story. And what do you, so what's next? What's in the pipeline or the plans for this year? You're about to launch a new product, you said. When are you
Yeah.
is it like how soon are you launching it?
Yeah, well, we're planning to launch, like, do like a soft launch this month, and then like continue to grow it. I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. That's where my other technical founder has been sort of leading that charge. So we were both co-heads of engineering on the main product until he was like, "I'm going to go create this new product," and left me with the main product to focus on product number two. But yeah, so that'll be launched early this year. And then yeah, we're just planning to like keep growing the main product. So we're expanding into the Middle East this year. We're still driving growth in the UK and Ireland as well. We're also starting to investigate the US market. And because we know that that's 20 times larger than most other markets in the world. So we want to try and figure out like what's the entry path there, but we're also trying to do that in a sustainable way because, the internet is littered with stories of startups, particularly Australian startups, but any startup outside of America trying to get into America. And it's like really long, it's really expensive. People often stuff it up and have to take 3 or 4 runs at it. So we're trying to be a little bit more deliberate about how we do that to make sure that we do it well. And it was the same approach we took when we expanded into the UK as well. Like we took an 18-month run up of like talking with customers and like regionalizing the product and all that sort of stuff, getting ready for when we can actually hit the ground running in the new market.
Yeah, cool. And last but not least, how do you switch off? Like if you guys are working remotely, like as a total company, and do you work from home like the whole time? Like how do you make sure you have do you have that ability to be able to go, right, I'm done for today? And do you know what I mean? Like what do you do to actively recover so you come back fresh? Yeah.
That's definitely a challenge, and particularly in the early days when the business was really small, it was just like the founding team. Like that was something that I didn't really do at all, because you're working 68 hours a week just to try and like get
Yeah.
something off the ground, right? But you learn pretty quickly that's not sustainable. Like I vividly remember this time where I just woke up one day and I just felt horrendous. Like I wasn't like sick. I just had no energy. I was tired. I just couldn't get excited about anything. And I was like, I'm taking a break. I'm just gonna go for a walk. And literally the instant I walked outside, I felt like 1,000% better. And then on my walk, I was thinking about it and I realized I hadn't left my bedroom for a week straight, except to go to the kitchen to get food and then back to my bedroom.
You hadn't been outside.
Hadn't been outside for a week straight.
Holy shit.
And then I was like, oh, maybe the outside had something to do for it. So then I started, going for a run in the mornings or like doing something, anything before work as a way to sort of like break it up. And as I was starting to look into it, I realized there's this concept of like having like a barrier between like your work life and your home
Hey, third
life.
space?
And sorry,
Was it the third space? Sorry, I interrupted you.
maybe I can't. It's been years since I read the article about it, but
Yeah, it would be the third
the
space. He's
yeah.
based out of Brisbane, I
Yeah,
think.
no, you're right. It's the third space. Yeah, and it's
Adam Fraser. I
he
should get him on. Actually, I should look him up. I don't know if he's still doing it. Dr. Adam Fraser. I'm positive it's yeah.
yeah, because he's talking about like when you work in an office, like your
Yeah,
commute is that
yeah,
space. So like as you're making your way to work, that is like a space between home and work where you can like get into work mindset, and then you commute home and you have that same space where you
yeah.
can like
No, it's the same.
decompress. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, that's so true. So then I started, like before work, I'd go to the gym or do some sort of exercise, and then I'd watch the news while I eat breakfast. And that's like the morning routine to get into work. And then the afternoon routine is going and doing some other activity or something like that. And now I've got a 10-month-old baby, so my afternoon routine is to go and spend time with him, which is a very big motivator for
Yeah,
finishing work on time
yeah,
because otherwise he's going to be asleep. And I don't want to miss that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's cool.
it's
Like That's the powering
Yeah.
up and powering down for me, like, that ability and that powering up. What's your, like, yeah, the third space. But yeah, I love it. It's so good. I read about it before COVID, like, and I saw him speak about it years ago. And then I was like playing with it in COVID as well, because it was just, I think we need to be doing more of that, especially because there is so much more remote work. Last
Mm.
question, or last, I guess, what would be one piece of advice? Hmm.
One piece of advice
Well,
from
just
me
one,
to,
yeah, you want to share. Like I was gonna actually kind of guide you, but I'm just gonna like, what's one piece of advice based on everything we've been talking about today, or just what's a piece of advice you'd want to share with a founder?
I think the key thing that I think, or that like we attribute a lot of our success to, is like one of our core values, which is whole asset with ruthless pragmatism. And the way that that manifests is like we don't do lots of things. We pick the things that are valuable and we do them all the way. So, for example, when we write code, we always write tests and we always write good code. And there's a lot of narrative in the startup space around like, no, like when you're in the early days, you just write quick prototypes that like, and then if you succeed and you make money, then you can fix it all later. And we're very kind of going against the grain there in the fact that we know that we're going to have to pivot, we're going to have to change things, and it's faster to change those things if you put the effort in up front and do it properly.
I
And
agree.
if you don't have time to do it properly, you don't have time to do it twice. So like just do less things and do them properly, and you'll be better off at the end of it.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying also is there's no such thing as shortcuts, right? If you want to do it properly, if you want to be like have a legacy, leave a legacy, like hit a mission like yours, you have to do it properly. You can still take, like you say, it's then pivot, test, illiterate, but you've got the foundations. Like we're talking about foundations here. Foundations as a human, foundations as a business, foundations as leaders. So, wow, I've really enjoyed our conversation, Nathan. Thank you so much. How do we find
No
out
worries.
about Procure Pro? Yeah, how do we find out more?
Yeah, just go to procurepro.co for our website. You can jump on our LinkedIn, like we're pretty active there. There's yeah, plenty of stuff. We've actually just launched our procurement playbook, which is kind of like uh, over the years talking to customers, like we've built up a list of all the things that like matter in procurement, the things that our customers struggle with, and the way that they've succeeded over time. And that's online as well. You can find that linked on our website. And it's essentially 3 years of discussions and learnings that we've had from our customers across the industry.
Yeah, cool. And you've got some great shares as well, like from a young entrepreneur, leader, co-founder as well. So I'm sure we can find you. Well, I know we can find you on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
you can find me on LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Wishing you a hugely successful year ahead, and thank you for your time. I'm loving, yeah, I loved listening to what you're doing, and thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me on.
No, you're welcome. Thanks, Nathan. Take care.
Okay. See ya.